I think that we politicians especially should be happy that we have this dispensation so that it becomes a standard for us. Because, look, I am a politician, but it got to a time I listened to what people say about us, and it's like we are all corrupt, we are thieves, we are robbers, and people should never trust us. And what they say is that we practice a principle of scratch my back, I scratch your back.
Right.
So this political dispensation comes. In fact, after labeling the other group as thieves and all corrupt and things, they come and then they fail, intentionally fail, willfully fail to prosecute the cases, and then they also come in and get themselves even more corrupted. This is what Elvis and the rest have been talking about. I've read, he himself has written something like that before. Am I lying? It's written something like that before. You understand?
But is that what happens?
No. That's what I'm saying, that let's see how these cases will pan. Because to me, sitting here, to be frank with you, I was asking myself a question. Could I have dared, under John Mama's administration when I was a minister, to take the decision that was taken with the issue of the Sky Train? I sat down and I was asking, really? That people could do this? Let's, for example, Palugu. You understand? When I, as a committee, parliamentary committee, we went to Palugu and I sat and I asked myself, so much has been spent. What has been done?
Yeah.
You understand?
There's nothing to show for it.
Nothing to show. Yeah. Then I asked myself, what were people thinking? That you could do this and go away with it? So there are certain issues that, as a politician myself, I shudder to think that we could even do some of these things. And I think that there must be a time to avoid a situation whereby people lose credibility in the political system, with the democratic system, which will give room for some unwanted and unwarranted, unnecessary adventurists. It is possible, it is time for us to sanitize ourselves and sanitize the system and get people to have a different perception about us who are on the field and within the space, the political space. And know that we get so many opportunities when you're in political office to advance your life. You need not get corrupted in order to be able to get those things we look. And I know many of us who are so committed to their public service and benefiting from the public service than getting corrupted. I know. From all the dispensation we have from Rollins's time to today, I can say many. And I've seen situations where even within the same political system, individuals have had differences on the way each other has, behaved. Yeah. What I would term as a sort of peer check on ourselves. You understand? So if we can all support issues like it, because sometimes it is not a politician. You understand? Yeah. I wouldn't call Edubwa a politician.
No.
Sometimes it's not a politician. The people who act in our stead, the people who give opportunity to act, sometimes become. Iti Mensah used to say something, and I heard several times, the late Iti Mensah, rest in peace, my uncle. He said until he was taking round properties owned by some civil servants and public servants, including workers in parliament, he never knew that so those people could be more corrupt than the politicians. You understand?
Right.
Sometimes the things that people do under us, the minefields they take us through when we are in political office, we are unable to see it until these cases arise. Look, I have followed some of this outside the prosecution, in my own intel on this national service thing. And sometimes there was a level of official, let me say, collusion.
Collusion, right.
Because there's no way anyone sitting at that office could do what the person did if there is no some official collusion in it. And some of these things we need to talk about it, to act as a check and bring some sort of respect and dignity to the office we hold. I am not a saint, but I will say this. Sometimes by our background and our training, there are certain things no matter what, you will not force me and you will not get me to do.
Right.
I wouldn't do it. Because my grandfather told me when I went to him and I said I wanted to go into politics, he asked me a question, do you know Justice Nkumsa? I said, I've heard his name. I said, he was an orator, political orator. But when the coup happened and he was put before the commission, he could not even speak. Be careful the area you are going.
Right.
You understand? Sometimes, I remember very well when I was cited for stealing after 2017. They said I've stolen monies meant for the construction of the new Edubiasi Stadium. And there was a whole article that I was cartooned, carrying Ghana must go back with the money. As a sports minister, I've stolen the money. I look at it and say, could I have done this? I was doubting myself.
Yeah.
Maybe I did it, I didn't know.
Or it was done on your behalf.
You understand? So sometimes it is not, if our backgrounds, sometimes we need to also look at where we're coming from, opportunity God has given us. Out of the millions of Ghanaians, God has given you the opportunity to serve. And you get certain things that ordinary Ghanaian will not do. There's no need for you to go beyond the level of acceptable practice to do certain things. And I think it is an opportunity for all of us to see how these cases will go so that it will set an example. Because so far in all this is the only person who I would say is an outright politician whose name I've heard is Professor Ameya Kofi.
Yeah.
You understand?
The SkyTrain matter.
In the SkyTrain matter.
As a board chair.
As a board chair. But in all these cases, you see people on the fringes, on the political fringes, and not the political actors themselves.
Right.
So it is maybe through the prosecution of this that we will know that maybe this thing.
Sometimes the board, maybe a majority decision on the board.
You understand? So I think that we must allow these cases to go. It sets a yardstick. It sets an example.
Right.
Tomorrow, somebody finds himself, maybe you find yourself in the political office. Then you have it at the back of your mind. Oh, look, this case happened, and this is what
This was the outcome.
the outcome was. So, finally, I will say this. I think that the courts, as Elvis said, I thought the fast-track High Court was meant to expedite cases involving issues of corruption.
Yeah.
But it has become slower than the traditional courts. So, like he said, we must have a special courts, like we have in other jurisdictions, in China, in the Asian countries especially. And I know it's also in Kenya, for example, special courts that will deal with cases like this, so that justice, the principle of justice delayed, justice denied will not be there. Right. Because once it's delaying, people lose confidence in the system. It's like politicians, they are delaying the case because they will. And then, you see, the tendency for people to also say that these cases are political persecutions are there.
Right.
So if we expedite action on it and the case comes to a conclusive end, then people will know that it was not a political persecution, but it was a real case of corruption.
Very well.